When the wellspring of possibility rained down upon her, the pebble on the pond of what can be made an everlasting ripple. When all around her said an ordinary life would be impossible, Helen Keller agreed. She was anything but ordinary. Welcome to the 2024 Helen Keller Prize for Vision Research. It's an honor for me to be with you this evening as your MC. Please make welcome to the podium a man who truly embodies the spirit of Helen Keller and who reminds me each and every day what a privilege it is to carry on her legacy and her work. President of the Helen Keller Foundation for Research and Education, Dr. Robert Morris.
Thanks, Keller. I didn't recognize myself from that description, but I appreciate it. It's fun to celebrate hard work, and it's especially fun to celebrate successful hard work. And that's what we do every year at the Helen Keller Prize ceremony. So welcome. Keller gave me permission to tell you that this is her birthday today. As long as I didn't tell you how old she is. And I won't do that because I don't know. The Helen Keller Foundation, as you see in this slide, and by the way, this image was taken by Joseph Karsh, perhaps the most famous portrait photographer of the 20th century. He took a picture of Winston Churchill that made him famous, looked like a bulldog. He took a cigar out of his mouth just before he took the picture, and that made him famous. And this is an awesome picture, and Karsh family have given us permission to use it. So as you see in the slide, the Helen Keller Foundation is the only Helen Keller organization with a primary research mission. We're also the only organization, Helen Keller organization, started by Helen Keller's family. And Keller is the third person after her grandmother and her father to help lead the foundation. Keller is our Vice President for Education, and although our primary mission is research, which we won't get into today, what we do, she is available. She teaches children in elementary school and high school Helen Keller's life and the character lessons coming from that. And she's available to your children and grandchildren. If you want her to teach in their schools, just contact her. She does that full time and she's a master at it. So anyway, I welcome you again to the prize. We are glad that the Bright Focus Foundation is sponsoring the ceremony, and we've been thrilled to work with them for almost 10 years now. We're glad that many of their young grant recipients are in the audience. It's good to see a life well done by the Helen Keller Laureate. The ceremony is organized by Laura Beckwith, who is our Vice President for Administration and Chief Operating Officer. I'd like a hand for Laura. She's sitting right there. I also like a hand for the Helen Keller Prize Selection Committee, who have been accurate in every single year, and Nick Delamere and Joe Hollyfield chair that. Thank you, guys. You know, Helen Keller envisioned progress in vision research. She said life is either a daring adventure or nothing. And she said while they were saying it could not be done, it was done. She got more specific than that, but that was the kind of person she was, and she envisioned progress. And research makes blindness preventable, and that's what she looked forward to. You know, Helmholtz invented the ophthalmoscope in 1851, and it's the first time we could see the retinal blood vessels. Before that, anything that wasn't visible as a scar on the cornea or a white pupil was called inner eye disease. So he enabled us to see the retinal blood vessels and their pathology. And over 100 years later, Jose Cunha-Vaz described for us how the retinal vessels protect the eye from disease and how disease occurs when those vessels get pathologic. So that's what we're celebrating tonight, his breakthroughs. And interestingly, he worked with David Maurice and Norman Ashton in London, and they got the Helen Keller Laureate, and he is too now this year. Thank you.
Helen Keller once said, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." At the Helen Keller Foundation, we're truly honored and blessed to have a wonderful partnership with the Bright Focus Foundation. Bright Focus Foundation, thank you for your friendship, your leadership, and important work that you do day in and day out. Please give a warm welcome to Bright Focus's President and CEO, Stacy Holler.
Okay, hello, good evening, welcome. Bem-vindos? No? Bem-vindos? Yeah, for you. My attempt at Portuguese to say welcome to the rest that are in the group. It's wonderful to be here and to be part of honoring just another amazing vision scientist who is making the world a better place through his years of research and discovery. And just so you know, in case you don't, Bright Focus is committed to saving sight and mind through our 3 programs of Alzheimer's, macular degeneration, and glaucoma. And we're proponents of cross-disease learnings as well. We've been at this for 50 years. I've been there a little bit, only a little portion of that. And there are 2 things that I've come to understand from this and work before. Research is the only key to solving disease. And funding promising scientists means that there's a lifelong opportunity for better treatments and tools that improve our lives. And with all of you in the room that are in the science community, a big thank you for the work that you do and the energy you bring to discovery of the root causes and the drugs and the lifestyle changes that can improve our lives in the near term and the other parts in the longer term. There are a lot of young investigators here tonight, as Bob referenced. And one of the things that I would hope is through these experiences, you become inspired by the stories and the journeys of the Helen Keller Prize recipients. And with that, I would like to ask any of the previous laureates to stand so we can recognize them and say thank you again. I also like to echo Keller and Bob's remarks. This is a beautiful partnership because we are committed together to research and have the privilege with Helen Keller's family to honor her spirit, driven by character, determination, to break the ground and rules. And that's what you all have to do all the time to make discoveries possible. And it's really a privilege to be part of something that would carry on her legacy from all of us at Bright Focus. Many in the room here have been impacted by the disease. I'm personally connected to all 3 diseases. That's just, I guess, a challenge of aging and living longer and trying to live better. And it's only through coming together with the foundation and with other groups that we're finding a way to restore vision and to bring communities together around the world to get us to faster cures. So with that, I have just a couple other things. First, should you fancy country music or Nashville, on June 26th, Bright Focus is holding a concert for cures with some of country western's most promising young stars in the spirit of early investigators, early career stars. And I think there'll be a few surprises Those of you that might follow country music, it's Chris Jansen, Jackson Dean, and Lillian Helper. And come chat with some of the other scientists, your colleagues, and for sure, come to have a lot of fun that night. And with that, I would like to ask all of you to do something really special, because we're never together when it's Keller's birthday. If we could all join together and sing happy birthday to Keller, that would be great. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Keller. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for your attention.
Wow, I don't think I've ever had that many people at my birthday party before. This is great. The Helen Keller Prize Selection Committee is such an important piece of the Helen Keller Prize for Vision Research. Committee, we cannot thank you enough for your guidance, your diligence, and just the work you do in making this event so special for 30 years. Please help me in welcoming the co-chairs of the Helen Keller Prize Selection Committee, Dr. Nicholas Delamere and Dr. Joe Hollyfield.
Good evening. Nick and I are really pleased to be here. The awards committee is a distinguished group of scientists, and when Dr. Cunha-Vaz was chosen, there were over 35 applications that were reviewed by the committee. Each committee member read all the applications and were asked to choose the top 5, and from that, those top 5 were presented in detail at another meeting of the full committee when Dr. Cunha-Vaz's name came to the top. I'd like to recognize all of the members of the award committee, the Helen Keller Award Committee. Some of them stood previously when they were announced as prior recipients of the Helen Keller Prize, but we have other members of the committee as well, so would all the committee that's here tonight please stand and be recognized. No one is standing. Dean Bach, Bronyan Bateman, Emily Chu, Joel Schumann. Thank you all for serving on the committee.
Good evening, everybody. In addition to celebrating Keller's birthday, which is dear to my heart, it's just wonderful to see so many people gathered here to celebrate the achievements of somebody who was so good at what he did. Dr. Cunha-Vaz he was absolutely amazing. He worked with colleagues that I knew when I was this high, like David Morris, Norman Ashton, at the Institute of Ophthalmology in Judd Street. And this was quintessentially a melting pot of new ideas in eye research. And for those of you who are not familiar with his area, the work that he did in studying the tightness of blood vessels in your eye it was life-changing for everybody in this room. It was life-changing in the sense of developments of drug delivery that could be worked out on the basis of that knowledge. It was also life-changing in the way of understanding diseases of the eye that involved these processes. It was an honor and a privilege to be part of the group that nominated or accepted his nomination and recommended that he be appointed the laureate this year. Well done.
At this time, I would like to welcome to the podium Dr. Hendrik Scholl to introduce us to the work of our 2024 Helen Keller Laureate. Dr. Scholl.
Dear members of the Helen Keller and of the Bright Focus Foundation, dear past Helen Keller laureates, dear family members of Professor Cunha-Vaz, dear distinguished guests, dear USA. It's a privilege and special honor for me to introduce to you the 2024 Helen Keller laureate, Professor USA Cunha-Vaz. When I was asked to give this presentation, I thought of the phenomenal life of Helen Keller. And I thought, what do Helen Keller, obviously on the left, and José Cunha-Vaz, obviously on the right, have in common? And I discovered some significant aspects, and I would like to single out 3 of them. Number 1, dedication. Let me just, this is not going smoothly here, sorry, I apologize here. So Dr. Cunha-Vaz, a dedicated clinician and researcher. Dr. Cunha-Vaz became chair and director of the Department of Ophthalmology at the University of Coimbra Hospital in 1972. I was born at the time, I have to say. In 1979, he moved to the United States to become a full-time professor of ophthalmology and director of the retina service at the University of Illinois at Chicago in his final return in 1986 to Portugal. He returned to his original position as professor of ophthalmology and head of the Department of Ophthalmology of the University of Coimbra until 2008. And in 1994, he founded a large research institute dedicated to vision research, the Institute of Biomedical Research and Light and Image, IBILI, and later the Association for Innovation and Biomedical Research on Light and Image, IBILI, a non-profit clinical research center. When I thought about how dedicated he is, I thought I would ask somebody who is close to him who tell me a story about José Cunha-Vaz and his dedication. And I have a very good connection to his grandson, so I took advantage of that. And I asked Antonio, if the computer would do me the favor to forward here, and he shared a story with me. And you see him, by the way, here to the right with Professor Cunha-Vaz, and he's sitting next to me at table number 2 here. He told me, when I was younger, my grandpa used to ask me why I needed holidays. He insisted that I should keep studying and working while I tried to explain to him the many cool things I could do during vacation. After all, everyone loves holidays. Later on, during family vacations, I realized that every morning my grandpa would take the early morning hours to go to the hotel lounge when everyone was still enjoying the extra hours of sleep, to read the latest scientific publications as well as planning or writing future papers. And that was when I finally understood my grandpa's point of view. For him, working was leisure because he was doing what he enjoys the most. Lucky for him, as long as you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. The second aspect, and that's an obvious one, it's all about vision. José Cunha-Vaz made outstanding contributions to vision research. I was only given 5 minutes for my presentation, so I have to keep it short. I would love to share all his contributions over the rest of the evening with you. Actually, I could. And if you would like to get a proof, make an appointment with me. Dr. Cunha-Vaz has led groundbreaking basic science and clinical research on vascular retinal disease, particularly diabetic eye disease. By the way, even this morning, we discussed basic research and clinical research of diabetic retinopathy at a very early morning meeting. So actually, I share the same experience as Antonio. Get up early. He's already active, and he's on top of things in the very early morning. Dr. Cunha-Vaz's work has included laboratory as well as clinical research of the retina. He was the first to identify the anatomical basis of the blood-retinal barrier and initiated its clinical measurement by developing vitreous fluorometry, and later multimodal macular mapping. Dr. Cunha-Vaz discovered different phenotypes and novel biomarkers of diabetic retinopathy. He has been a principal investigator for research grants funded by the NIH, the FCT in Portugal, and also the European Commission research programs. And he participated as principal investigator in a large number of studies, especially therapeutic trials for retinal diseases. And the third aspect is visionary. He really is visionary. It appears to me that he founded pretty much everything, every organization that I have been working with. And I give you a couple of examples. For example, the European Vision Institute. The European Vision Institute aims to facilitate and encourage cross-border cooperation in vision research and ophthalmology, and it was founded in 2004 in Brussels by Professor Cunha-Vaz, Professor José Sahel, who is also here, Adam Silito, and Eberhard Zrenner. And just 2 years ago, it was established as a Swiss association and moved from Brussels to Basel. And here you see a picture in Basel when we came together as the steering committee and the senior advisory board. And you see him on the upper right. And of course, the European Vision Institute also announced that he is the 2024 Helen Keller Award. You see that here on the upper right. He was also the editor-in-chief of ophthalmic research, and you see here to the left the Festschrift in honor of José Cunha-Vaz's achievements in diabetic retinopathy. And last but not least, he founded the European Vision Institute Clinical Research Network, AVCRNet. And this is a network, a very large network of ophthalmological clinical research sites that dedicated to perform multinational clinical research in ophthalmology with the highest standards of quality, and many, many people contribute. It's pretty much exactly 100 centers in Europe. And also family members contribute to this endeavor. For example, you see that here, when we came together last time in Milan, you see on the very right his daughter Cecilia, who's also here in the audience, and he's just standing next to him. But you also see this large crowd that came together that meets every year out of those 100 clinical research centers to discuss clinical research, and all of this is championed by Professor Cunha-Vaz. So with that, I actually need to conclude because I was only given 5 minutes, and I'm the last barrier to your dinner. So ladies and gentlemen, I have tried the impossible, namely to summarize the career and achievements of Dr. Cunha-Vaz in 5 minutes. So much more could have been said. I'm personally grateful for his leadership of our community of clinical researchers. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Cunha-Vaz for the 2024 Helen Keller Prize for Vision Research.
Helen Keller was not only interested in blind and visually impaired persons in the United States, but she was deeply interested in those around the world and their well-being. In March 1956, she visited the country of Portugal. An eyewitness to her visit, only known by the name J.C., wrote this: "You cannot be in her presence and not feel the better for it." Helen Keller, that great human, whose physically blind eyes illuminated her whole being with inward spiritual light, spoke to us. All that she said gave courage and inspiration. Helen Keller might be a graciously aging woman. After all, she is 75. I haven't made that yet, just saying. Slight gray hair drawn back in a neat bun under a little tuck of cornflower curls. Blue like her outwardly sightless eyes. A long blue gown, an elbow-length cape of fur. Yet when she entered the room, something entered with her. Something that blew a warm breath of understanding over all of us. Her delight in things is pure, and her expression of it childlike. A beaming and spontaneous smile and her hands clasped in ecstasy. But she has dark moments too. She told us of them proudly, saying that she refused to give in to them. Self-pity is our greatest enemy, said the woman, who of all people in the world might be excused from indulging in it. She refuses to admit the enemy into her camp. It was only natural that so great a soul should turn her whole endeavor to helping others who, like herself, are blind and deaf. But above all, it is her personality, her courage, and her warmth which illumine all around her. One feels that those so close to her must say that to love her is an education in itself. Tonight, we honor one who has helped to illuminate the lives of many through vision research. It is my sincere pleasure and honor to introduce to you the 2024 Helen Keller Laureate, Dr. Jose Cunha-Vaz. Dr. Vaz, here we go. And you're unrestricted honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just briefly, I would like to thank mostly people that have helped me throughout all my life, and which I will go briefly over some points that I consider relevant for this occasion and for this choice, which may not have been the best, but whatever was done, I have to accept with pleasure. Yeah, okay, that's the opening up. We have to say that, first of all, I have to be thankful to Helen Keller Foundation and the Bright Focus Foundation, because they really created this opportunity that I have to be thankful for. And that's, in the end, they are promoting vision research, better contribution to improvement in our knowledge of ophthalmology, and that's, I think, it's what matters more than anything else here. Thinking about Helen Keller, I chose this citation of her. She has many, but I think this is quotes that I appreciated and I admire, and I really try as much as I can to see that what she did is to invest in her life more than just leave it, and that has been a motto somehow also to me as much as I can. I think I would like to be useful in life. I hope to have been. Now, it's a special occasion. First of all, I was lucky. I had the right girl. I found the right girl at the right time. And that is my wife, and this is crucial. And I hope everyone has the same chance and the same luck of having to find the right boy and the right girl. And then I had great mentors that were Norman Ashton, David Maurice, and Morton Goldberg. All of them laureates of Harvard. All of them, two of them, also Helen Keller Prize laureates. And has a special meaning to me, as was mentioned by Professor Scholl, that Norman Ashton and David Maurice taught me a lot, and I don't know, I think that was a mistake of the selection committee, but I came up to be as much as at that level. It's really an honor for me, more than anything else. Finally, just to tell you, I was thankful for UK, because my training was there and I learned a lot there. And really it was the basis of all whatever I did. Afterwards, I came to the United States, and the United States also gave me a lot. And I learned a lot, and I did grow with my stay here. and all of that contributed tremendously to whatever I did. Finally, in Portugal, and Portugal in '86 entered the European Union and it created conditions that were not before there for clinical research and for research. And that also helped me a lot in this, creating conditions for my return and to do whatever I have done. And these were crucial steps in helping me. This is my institution. I have here in one of the tables the staff that came to Arvo and works closely with me, and I would like to thank them because they really do most of the work. I just go over it and try to understand what they are doing, but that's what it is at the moment. Finally, I'm a clinical scientist. I don't know if that still exists or is something that is still acceptable. But as was mentioned here before, I enjoy every day what I do, and I like what I do. And I think it's really a privilege to be lucky enough to do whatever you like doing. And that, I think, has been important to me. Finally, I also would like to go over my family is here at another table. Most of it, not all of it, but it's good to be here with us and with me, and that's something I'm very thankful for. Finally, all my co-workers, closer, the ones every day, then the ones I work with, and they keep up with me and support me, and in every sense, you know, when I get angry with them and when I am happy with them. But they really are there for me. Finally, that's the team, and thank you very much for coming here tonight and being here with me. Thank you very much.
I'm going to close you out with something tonight that's near and dear to my heart, and I've done it several times at the foundation, but at the prize, but we haven't done it in a few years, and we have a lot of new faces tonight. So before we carry on our evening of celebration, of food, and just being together celebrating, I'd like to close with this. Dr. Frank Mayfield was touring the Tewksbury Institute. When on his way out, he accidentally collided with an elderly floor maid. And to cover the awkward moment, Dr. Mayfield started asking questions. How long have you worked here? I've worked here almost since the place was open, the maid replied. What can you tell me about the history of this place, he asked. I don't think I could tell you anything, but I could show you something. And with that, she took his hand and she led him down to the basement, under the oldest section of the building. She pointed to what looked like small prison cells. Their iron bars rusted with age. And she said, that's where they used to keep Annie. Who's Annie? The doctor asked. Annie was a young girl who was brought in here because nobody could control her. Nobody could do anything with her. She'd bite and scream and throw her food at people. The doctors could not even examine her or anything. I'd see them trying with Annie, spitting and scratching. I was only a few years younger than her myself, and I used to think, I sure would hate to be locked up in a cage like that. I wanted to help her, but I didn't have any idea what I could do. I mean, if the doctors and nurses couldn't help out, what could somebody like me do? I didn't know what else to do, so that night I went home and made her some brownies. The next day I brought them into work, and I walked carefully to her cage, and I said, Annie, I baked these brownies for you. I put them right here on the floor, and I hoped that she would come and get them when she was ready. Then I got out of there just as fast as I could because I was afraid she might throw them at me. But she didn't. She actually took the brownies and ate them. And after that, she was just a little bit nicer to me. Well, the doctors and the nurses noticed this, and they noticed that I even could get her laughing when she was in a really bad mood. So they asked me if I'd help with Annie, and I said I would if I could. So that's how it came about that every time they wanted to see Annie or examine her, I went to the cage first and explained and calmed her down and even held her hand. And this is how they discovered that Annie was almost blind. After they had been working with her for about a year, and it was tough sledding with Annie, believe me, the Perkins School for the Blind opens its doors, and they were able to help her. And she went on to study, and she became a teacher herself. She came back to the Tewksbury Institute to visit and see what she could do to help out. And at first, the director didn't say anything to her. And then he thought about a letter he had just received. A man from Alabama had written to him about his daughter. She was absolutely unruly, almost like an animal. She was blind and deaf, as well as what they thought deranged. He was at his wit's end, but he didn't want to put her in an asylum. So he wrote the Institute to ask if they knew of anyone who would come to his house and work with his daughter. And that is how Annie Sullivan became the lifelong companion of Helen Keller. When Helen Keller was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, she was asked who had the greatest impact on her life. And she said, "That's easy, Anne Sullivan." But Annie said, "No, Helen, the person who had the greatest impact on both of our lives was a floor maid at the Tewksbury Institute." You see, history can be changed when one person says, "I can." Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.